This speaker was recorded at an Addictive Eaters Anonymous public meeting held in Dublin, Ireland in February 2019. For more information, visit www.aeainfo.org.
Hi Vanessa, I'm an addictive eater. Hi everybody. I'm really grateful to be here and get to share my story and how the program at AEA has changed my life. And so I don't really remember much of a problem with food as a child, but I know as a teenager I kind of got quite self-aware, self-obsessed and body conscious, I guess. And just I remember at home having exercise tapes and running up and down the stairs and just trying to control my weight, and went on this diet, and I lost a considerable amount of weight, and started to really kind of be really conscious of what I ate could affect how I looked, and it became an obsession then. And then I had to come off the diet, as was suggested by family. I was getting quite a bit of attention, and I loved that, but I had huge fear then if I started eating normally again, that I'd put on the weight that I lost. And I had a fear then I wouldn't get that attention anymore and people wouldn't like me anymore. So I don't know where I got the idea from. I think I heard it on some chat show or something, to be honest. And I tried to purge after dinner, after our family meals. And I started doing that regularly. And then it became, my secret. I would, couldn't wait till I was alone till I could binge and purge. And I had this double life. I'd pretend in front of family and friends that I could eat normally, but generally I just kind of, picking on salad or pushing food around my plate. But, I was able to hide it pretty okay, and so I had this real double life then with food, and I loved it, to be honest, for a good while. And something I did when I was bored, something I did when I was happy, sad, or what, no excuse. And I would just get lots of food and eat as much as I could. But then, it started to really affect my life. I kind of realised what I was doing wasn't really normal, and I was, kind of pretty miserable, actually. I found that, when I wanted to stop, I couldn't, and I would maybe get a couple of days or a week or two, but it would just be like my skin would start crawling. That's what it felt like. I was like, I have to eat, and I would obsess then in my head what I was going to eat and how I'd eat it and what the order I'd eat it in when I get rid of it. Really obsessing about it. And I could see, my friends kind of getting on with their lives, and they seemed to be pretty happy, but I was really struggling. And because I had this kind of double life, I was pretending to everybody that everything was fine and I could have a smile on my face, but inside I was really, really miserable and hated myself. And I wanted to stop doing what I was doing, but I couldn't, because I had a lot of shame, and it just got pretty gross, really, the behaviour. And I was stealing quite a lot of food as well, because I couldn't afford the amount of food that I was eating. And it was very lonely as well, to be honest. I used to go to supermarkets and walk up and down the aisles and take food off the shelves and put the wrappers back up behind things on the shelf, and go to restaurants and all-you-can-eat buffets on my own. And I had a housemate at the time, and I remember where I worked at the time, I'd always stay back and say I was doing overtime, to the staff and my boss. But I was just waiting until everybody could leave their desks so I could go around from desk to desk and take what food they had. And there was some, food there for staff in the kitchen that I could, tuck into. And then I'd, stop in places on the way home. So I always got home quite late. And my housemate at the time, I would just tell her that I had a lot of work to do, and I was always doing overtime and everything, but I wasn't. I was just, just eating on my own. And but anyway, that just went on for years, I guess. And even around family, I'd try and, pretend that I was really helpful in the kitchen, and I'd be real like, hey, everybody just stay there. I'll bring out the stuff, just so I could be on my own in the kitchen, or, I'll clean the dishes, and, but I wasn't trying to be helpful at all. I was just trying to be on my own in the kitchen, and I didn't like to be disturbed while I was eating, I wanted to kind of have the time to myself so I could eat the way I wanted to. So, but yeah, anyway, that went on, and as I was saying, I wanted to stop, and I got some self-help books, and filled out some questionnaires and did these kind of things, and did a food diary and all these things, and but it didn't work. I just always end up binging and purging, and then drinking was a problem for me as well. I could binge drink at the weekend and then binge on food during the week, and I was just really struggling. So I went to counselling, and I talked about myself for a while, and that didn't work. It actually got worse, and I'm grateful for the counsellor at the time, because she admitted that she couldn't do any more for me. She saw me progressively get worse in front of her eyes, and she realised that I needed help other than what she could offer. So I got into a treatment centre, and the best thing about that was getting into a 12-step meeting, and just the relief of hearing people talk about what they are doing with food, and that I wasn't alone. Because of my secret for so long, I would never talk to anyone about what I was doing, and I didn't even have the words really to how to describe it, or to describe what I was thinking, or that I didn't even know that I was full of fear. I thought, like, I'm grand, I can walk around town late at night and I'm not afraid, but I was terrified of what you thought of me. And I didn't realise how dishonest I was, and everything was just like, what can I get to make me feel better, whether it be attention or affection or praise or even food and alcohol, whatever you had, I'd try and get it. And so so it was good to kind of see these truths. I was very much blaming my family and for the way I was, but I believe too I have an illness, disease of addiction, and it's nobody's fault. It's not my fault. I blamed myself for years. I thought I was just a pig. I couldn't stop eating, but I'm an addictive eater, and I'm just really grateful that there's a solution here. And I just it took me a while to get sober in AEA. As swapping substances within food, I very much swapped behaviours. I gave up the gym, but then I'd started cycling just under 2 hours to work and back, I'd stopped weighing myself on the scales, but I started measuring my body with a measuring tape. And I just, I was like looking at my body in the mirror all the time, and just really obsessive. And and then so, I thought for a while like I wasn't binging and purging anymore, so I'm doing great, but it would subtly kind of switch to restricting food, and I look back now and it's so obvious, but at the time I really didn't see it, only eating certain things on my food plan that I thought were lower fat or whatever. So still trying to control my weight within my food plan, and so it was just really good to kind of see all that, because I didn't have that. I was miserable, and because I couldn't see what I was doing, so and that's a great gift of sponsorship, can, well, as long as I'm honest with what I'm doing, then a sponsor can point out to me. So, and and have peace of mind today around the food. It doesn't call me anymore. And before I'd walk into like a shop and I'd be like, how am I eating again? I was just this pull. I couldn't resist it. It was so much stronger than me. And I don't have that anymore, and I don't have that obsession about my body anymore. And I don't think that people will like me if I'm just thinner, I really thought that for so long, and how shallow. But anyway, that's part of the illness. I don't have that denial anymore, that things aren't that bad, or that I could be normal around food, I'm an addictive eater today, and I know I need help with what to eat and when to eat and how much to eat on my own. I tried that on my own for a good long part of my life, and it didn't work out too well. So, and I remember feeling pretty bad about that when I first came in. I was like, I can't believe I'm a grown woman and I can't feed myself, the basic thing in life. But I accept today I'm just an addictive eater, and I need help with that, and that's okay. I'm really okay with that today. From accepting that and taking guidance from a sponsor, from around my food and other areas in my life. I have a really, really great life today, and I just, I do hear members say it gets better, and I love that, because it's pretty good now. And but as long as I keep doing what I need to do daily, and and keep trying to live by the 12 steps, and there's something that I couldn't have done on my own. When I first came in to the program, it's kind of a lot of wording and like old English that I didn't quite understand, but I needed to be explained, and I love that about Addictive Eaters Anonymous, is that it is a fellowship, and that there are always members there that I can phone, and all around the world, so no matter what time of the day I can get someone, it's great. And then hopefully people can phone me too, and I think that's the great thing, that we can I can share my experience and it might help somebody else. So I'm really grateful to the program, and I can forget that how bad things were and how hopeless I felt for so many years. I really thought I'd never stop. And then today, to almost sometimes forget how bad it was, because I have so much freedom today, and it's good to be here to get to share and to remind myself that how it was, and to remind myself that I need to keep doing what I'm doing today. Because yeah, I could easily go back there and I don't want to. So anyway, it's just great to be sober, and yeah, thanks.